Be a beekeeper for any length of time and you will discover that lots of things can stress colonies. Pests, pathogens, management, pesticides, nutrition, queen-related issues, swarming, all of these things can cause significant colony damage, leading ultimately to a lack of productivity or maybe even the death of the colony. I've got videos about all of those things, so in this particular episode, I want to focus specifically on 4 management-related stressors that tend not to be a big deal, but I just want to mention them as a catch-all category for things that you might see in your colonies or that you might be guilty of as a new beekeeper. The first thing I'll say, lack of preparation. All of us have gotten excited about something at some time in our life, right? Maybe you started golf, maybe you started fishing, maybe you started international travel, and before you know it, you're so deep into it that you're not even sure how to do it, what to do, what equipment, etc. Beekeeping is that attractive. You've gone online and watched videos, you've heard friends talk, and you just want to get into beekeeping. So the danger of this from a management perspective is you jump in too fast when you're simply not prepared. Bees are animals. They require husbandry. You have to take care of their colonies. You can't just get one, set it, and forget it. You have to do things to their nest. You may have to feed them. You have to recognize diseases and pests. You have to control stressors. You have to do a lot of different things to colonies in order to ensure their health and productivity. So it can just simply be a general lack of preparedness. The way to combat this is to do as much as you can on the front end to be ready. Work with a mentor. Read as much as you can. Watch as much as you can. Go to local bee clubs. Help other people work their bees before you get your own bees. You will be happier, you'll enjoy the process better, and your bees will be better off for it. You really can't learn enough before getting into bees. It's not okay to just get them and see what happens. You really need to be prepared. So a lack of preparedness can be a significant stressor. Another thing that doesn't seem so important until you face it as a beekeeper is simply a limited access to beekeeping equipment, or maybe bees. Now, here at the University of Florida, we have an equipment manufacturer right up the road, one down the road. We've got equipment we can get anywhere, but not all of you listening to this video around the world have easy access to beekeeping equipment. You know you want to get bees. There's this wild colony in a tree or a feral colony in someone's house. You want to take it out, or your colony's growing and you want to add supers, or you realize after working bees a few times, you really do need a smoker or some personal protective equipment. You just have to have access to that stuff. Depending on where you live, you may not have good access to it. So you don't want to overexpand your capacity to outfit your operation. So limited access to beekeeping equipment can be a management-related stress that may not result in the demise of your colony, but it can be very frustrating for you as a beekeeper. The next thing I want to talk about is management. It is getting your hands dirty in a hive, and that is overworking your hives or underworking your hives. Generally speaking, new beekeepers overwork their hives, and seasoned beekeepers often underwork their hives, and both of those can be a problem. Let's start with overworking at first. Bees are fascinating. If they weren't, I would not have spent multiple decades working with these things with the intention of working with these things more decades yet to come. They're so addictive. You just want to work more. You want more colonies. You want to study more and learn more. So when you get your first hive, you tend to go into it. And the next day, you tend to go into it. And the next day, you tend to go into it. So you can overwork your hives to the stress of the colonies contained within. You don't want to overwork. You also don't want to underwork. A lot of people who've kept bees for a very long time say, my colonies are okay, I'll check them next month. In reality, lots of things can happen to bee colonies all the time. In winter, they can get too cold. In summer, they can get too hot. There can be nutritional stresses. Maybe the colony lost its queen, either through swarming or she was just bad and the worker bees killed her. Lots of things can happen to a colony. A lot can go wrong in a short period of time. So if you're not inspecting those colonies frequently enough, you might miss things that ultimately lead to the death of those colonies. So with all that said, what is the right amount of time to work colonies? Well, I have a whole video about time commitment working bees, but to summarize some of the important steps here is, as a new beekeeper, I generally tell new beekeepers, don't go in more than about once a week. If you want to know more, just sit beside the hive with your veil on and just watch the bees forage. But try not to go in more than about once a week unless there's something specific that you found at your last inspection that you need to fix now. You need to requeen or you need to feed, etc. So I generally say during production season, so for us here at the University of Florida, that's about mid-March all the way through probably early June. In production season, you want to go into your colonies about once a week, but certainly no less frequently than once every 2 weeks. Outside of production season, from summer into early fall, that would be for us here, June probably to September, you might go in once every 2 to 4 weeks. I tend to go in about once a month just to make an assessment of what's going in the colony, Now, in November and December and January and February, I might not even go into them at all. I may just go hoist them to make sure they have enough food. Maybe I'm not going in every day, but I do go and look at them to do some visual inspection of how things are going. So you don't want to overwork them. You don't want to underwork them. You want to work them just right. So that can be a stressor for your bees if you're just in there too much or too little. And then the fourth management-related stressor that I want to talk about in this video is smoking bees. It's another one of those things that we think to ourselves, how much is enough? Am I smoking too much? Am I smoking too little? You can oversmoke your bees and you can undersmoke your bees, and the latter of the two is the easier of the two to recognize. That would be undersmoking your bees. Well, how do you discover that you're undersmoking your bees? Well, you start getting stung. When lots of bees are stinging your hands or bopping you on your veil, you probably haven't used enough smoke. Oversmoking bees, though, can actually taint the flavor of the honey. It can cause other problems in the nest. So what I always recommend is when you are working your hives and you go up to a hive, you'll puff smoke in the nest entrance, about 3 or 4 puffs. You'll open the lid and put about a puff or 2 under the lid. And from that point forward, you are smoking based on feel as you go through that hive. For example, once it's smoked, if I take off the lid and no bees are coming at me, I wouldn't smoke it. If I'm going to take off that uppermost super, I might pry it open, put a few puffs of smoke in it, take that super off, and work my way down to the brood nest. Once I get to the brood nest, I might puff a little bit lightly over the top of the frames. If I get no response, that's where I stop. And as I work the frames doing whatever I'm doing in the nest, I judge how much more smoke to add based on the response of the colony. There's been plenty of times I've only had to smoke the entrance and smoke up under the lid, and that was enough to work a colony and go all the way through the entire hive. There's also been times I haven't seemed to be able to smoke them enough. I'm getting a response no matter what I do. And in those cases, I'll try to smoke appropriately. If the bees are just too defensive on that particular day and smoke doesn't seem to be working, then I would put that hive back together and come back another day. So these 4 things aren't things that beekeepers really think about too much when they think about stress to colonies, but it can be a problem in your beekeeping operation. Again, think about it. You're not ready, so a lack of preparedness, you're just not ready to be a beekeeper, or you don't have access to the equipment that you need to do the job and you're still so excited that you jump in before you have everything. You work your bees too much or too little, or you use too much smoke or too little smoke. So hopefully something I've shared with you about these 4 different stressors will help you be a better beekeeper. Work your colonies when necessary and be ready to do what's necessary to ensure their health and productivity.